Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery here. We get together most weekday mornings, 8 o'clock Central, to talk about strategies, tips, techniques, and support each of you. We've opened this morning Zoom up not only for our distribution partners, which means those individuals and organizations that we work with to create awareness to help others, but also now we're inviting our clients, our participants to attend to make sure that we provide them one more outlet so we can support and assist them in meeting their goals. Today is a really special topic, which is on the new $100,000 primary trade lines. We're going to talk about the who, what, when, where, and how. And as is shared on my screen, we're looking at two different items, one of which is a new page on our website. Each of you who are a distribution partner now have this page also on your free replicated website. And then secondly, we have a flyer. So the common theme here is we're talking about the $100,000 trade lines. So you'll see that on the menu bar of the website. You'll see it on the page. You'll see it on the flyer. We're going to talk about each of these separately and then open it up for questions that you have. So new page on guaranteedfunding.org/tradelines, plural. And again, on your replicated website, it'll look just the same. So first we want to do is educate. As a nonprofit, the first thing that we want to do is educate the marketplace. And in general, what we're doing is providing improved financial literacy to help clients be able to obtain the funding that they need, typically to start or grow a business. And it's not that you just want money or demand money. We have to actually qualify for money. And that's really what everything that we do, that's the common thread, is how do we help people legally and ethically become more credible, more fundable? How do we help them look better on paper so they can get approved? So the $100,000 primary trade line is an immensely important tool in helping many people become credible enough to get the funding that they need. So let's go through and talk about that. So our three primary points here on the new page of the website is that trade lines are the key to stronger credit profiles. But the truth is big trade lines are the key. So it says here, legally adding new trade lines to your credit report is an excellent way to quickly increase your personal and/or business credit scores. So you notice we mentioned both personal and business. That's important because we can add this trade line to your personal profile and/or to your business profile. Now, if you don't have a business and you're not looking to build business credit, don't worry, that doesn't exclude you, but we have dual reporting capabilities. So why, I think a great question. Many of you know I used to be a high school teacher, so I always tried to instill in my high school students, ask the question why, because the what doesn't matter if we don't understand why. So why is this true? Well, it makes sense, right? If what we're trying to do is improve our credit profile so we can go get financing for something, a car, a house, a business loan, of course, how we've paid our bills in the past is going to, in most cases, be part of that underwriting criteria, right? Because they need to know, do they think that you'll pay going forward? Well, no one has a crystal ball, we don't know. But they certainly can look at, have we paid our bills in the past? That's true for individuals and/or businesses. But the problem is a lot of people make a mistake. You might say, let's say you're a pessimist and say, well, Tom, I don't see the need for a $100,000 primary trade line. I could just go get a $200 secured credit card and accomplish the same thing. Well, that's false. That's financial illiteracy because size matters. The larger the prior access to credit and funding that we've had, builds more credibility for the next. So for example, let's say you wanted to go finance a new Porsche 911 and it's $350,000 to purchase this new Porsche 911. They're going to look at your auto credit history. Well, what's the largest auto loan you've ever had? Well, what if it was $12,000 or $20,000? Well, that's a massive leap. So the point is, as we're building our credit profiles, we don't want to only just add positive trade lines. We want to add big trade lines because those show that we have a higher qualification to get larger amounts going forward. So hopefully that makes sense. The second item here on our page, on the $100,000 trade line page of guaranteedfunding.org, which is also our tagline here, don't pay for trade lines. We run into a lot of individuals that talk about how they go out and they buy trade lines. Well, you and I know there's two primary types of trade lines. There's primary, and then there's AU, authorized user accounts. We're focused on primary trade lines because the truth is, while you may be able to easily add an AU, an authorized user account, to your credit profile, it doesn't count the same. It's called piggybacking. It's not your credit, it's someone else's credit. So it might give you the false impression that it suddenly has improved your credit profile. But in most cases, lenders and extenders of credit know that game, and they'll literally pull out or back out AU accounts in their underwriting process. So you're left back with what are your real primary accounts. So we don't sell trade lines. Sometimes people will contact us and say, hey, I heard about this new $100,000 primary trade line. What's it cost to get that? Well, that's not the way that it works, right? How do you get a home mortgage? Do you go buy a mortgage? No, you buy a home and then you finance the home, and the mortgage is the primary trade line that reports in your credit reflecting that purchase. Or in the automobile example, we don't get a new automobile credit trade line. We would go buy an automobile, finance it, and then it reports as new positive credit. So keep in mind, we don't sell trade lines. And I would argue anyone that is trying to sell you a primary trade line, you might want to be very cautious of, because I don't know that that's legal and compliant. Our approach certainly is. We don't sell trade lines. So what we have is an innovative package that does three things, not one, not two, but three things. We're going to build the credit, we're going to build the net worth, and build cash flow all at the same time. We'll talk more about that in a moment. So it's an innovative approach. And you might be saying, well, wait. I'm just interested in this $100,000 primary trade line. Well, you don't just get a trade line, right? Not primary. You need to have purchased something like the home to get the mortgage, the automobile to get the car trade line. We have to buy something, apply for financing, and get an approval for that financing to create a primary trade line. So this is real. Understand? We're not doing something fuzzy, nothing illegal, nothing inappropriate. So these are real. These are usable trade lines. You might say, oh, so this is just $100,000 on paper. It doesn't really exist. That is not true. I don't think that the credit bureaus are willing to report the trade lines that are not real, that are not bona fide, that are not usable. So these are real trade lines. They're usable. We've had people ask, well, how long does this report? Well, permanent, right? Trade lines report for 7 years. So these can be added to the personal and or business credit profiles. So that's just a high level overview. Let's drill a little bit down deeper. So again, if you're one of our distribution partners, you wake up this morning, and if you go to your free replicated website, so if you don't have one, you can go to the careers page here, become a small business consultant, and you see that you get a free replicated website. With that free replicated website, it'll have this page on it, which we're looking at now. And so then you'll have your own link to drive people to. All right, let's go down to the next section. Again, re-emphasizing the fact that we don't sell trade lines, and we don't think people should pay for trade lines. So instead of buying a trade line, we've created an innovative package whereby clients purchase and finance a portfolio of income-producing receivables. That is called the Collateral Support Program. And then the trade line comes along with it for free. So again, one more example. So if you wanted a new trade line from Ally for an auto loan, you need to go buy a vehicle and then finance the vehicle with Ally, right? And that's how that it appears. Or you want a new trade line from American Express. So you need to apply and actually get an American Express card, and then it would report. So what we've done is we're really excited. We've developed an alliance with a nonprofit micro lender, and they're the ones that actually are providing these large, real, usable, permanent primary trade lines. So a couple of the highlights of the $100,000 trade lines. The nice thing is it's not underwritten the way that you might think. So there's no minimum credit scores. And if it's a business, there's no minimum time in business. It's a guaranteed approval. Now, guaranteed approval with an asterisk, you do need to complete an application because they need to know who they're extending credit to, because it's real and they're going to report it as a new positive trade line on your personal and or business, whichever you want, or both. And they're incurring that cost, right? Because it's not free to report positive trade lines to the credit bureaus. It's not free. But that's the beauty of working with this nonprofit micro lender, is they incur the cost so you have better credit. As I mentioned, there's no minimum credit scores or time in business. You could have a brand new business. You could have no business. You could have a closed business. So it's not underwritten off of credit or time in business. As I've stated a couple times, it has the ability to be reported on the consumer side. Think of Experian, Equifax, TransUnion, and or on the business side. And again, this nonprofit micro lender is not charging you for that reporting. So you're literally getting the $100,000 trade line for free. Ultimately, what we're doing is we're providing a turnkey program. We're providing the deliverable, if you will, which are these receivables called the collateral support program. So these are real receivables that's being transferred to the client, and then we help them liquidate those receivables. Some people say receivables, I don't understand what that means. So let me just give you a quick example. Let's say that you and I wanted to start a new business together and we decided lawn care is a great idea. So what could we do? We could go we could form a business, LLC or what have you. We could go buy some lawn equipment. We could go market to homeowners or business owners, apartment complexes, whatever, to get clients to do their yards. Then we get contracts with the clients. We go perform the services. In other words, we go mow the yard, and then we invoice the client. Say, great, we mowed your yard. You owe us $50. Or let's say it's a bank. You owe us $500 for this week's lawn care. Well, receivables is that asset. That means money is owed to you and I, our lawn care company in that example. What we're doing with this, the collateral support program, instead of going in and starting the business and buying equipment and performing the services, we're actually just obtaining the receivables. So we're skipping all the work that has to be done and all the expense. And so instead, we're just getting the receivables. So for example, we could go to that lawn care company and say, hey, how about we buy your receivables rather than you waiting to get paid by the homeowners or business owners or apartment complex owners? We'll buy those receivables for pennies on the dollar. So what we're providing in the collateral support program is real. It's real receivables. And by having those real receivables, that adds an immediate asset to the individual's net worth and or business balance sheet. And also then we help them liquidate that to put cash into the account. And we do that with no effort, because a lot of clients will say, well, wait, this sounds really good, but I don't want to have to do any work, or I don't know how to do that, or I don't want to do that. That's fine. We handle the liquidation portion. So for individuals that are interested in learning more about the $100,000 trade line, they request information. They put in their name, email, phone, a message if they want, and they let us know, are they interested for themselves, or are they interested as being a distribution partner? And again, that's what we have on the career page here called a small business consultant. So that, in summary, is the $100,000 trade line page. But I want to dig deeper. But I want to make each of you aware that each of your websites has this page. It's up and operational. All right, so let's go ahead then and look at the flyer. So we developed this flyer over the holiday weekend, and this is edited for your information. So the call to action at the bottom would have your information. This one, granted, is the general one or the template that refers back to our website, but this would be your information in the orange box. So we're not talking about something different now. We're just having a deeper discussion in the $100,000 primary trade line and looking at the flyer. So the flyer has a consistent message to the website, but frankly, it has more information because there's more room. All right, so we start by answering the question, well, why would you want to add a trade line to your credit profile? Similar to what we discussed before, legally adding new trade lines to your credit report is an excellent way to quickly increase your personal and/or business credit scores by lowering your revolving utilization and/or becoming more fundable by demonstrating that you have successfully managed large extensions of credit. So that's a lot, but let's divide it into two categories. I think you're going to run into people frequently that their credit profile and/or their score is not as strong as it could be because they're using too much of their available credit. So let's say that they have one credit card and it has, we'll just do a real simple number, it has a $100 credit limit. That's the only credit card they have. Well, what you and I know is if we're using more than 30% of our available credit, then our score starts to come down, and then lenders, regardless of what type of lender, what type of loan, starts to worry that maybe we're living off of credit, that we're overextended, and they're less likely to loan money. Now, I realize you might say, well, that's just the opposite. I need a loan to be able to clear off my credit cards. But underwriting of loans, they're going to look at not only the credit score, but also the profile. So you can see that if you and I can help someone add a $100,000 primary trade line, that's going to reduce their revolving utilization. Okay? And then the second reason is those that need to become more fundable. We work a lot with business owners, small business owners. And so we'll have small business owners that come to us and say, okay, I want a big loan for my business. And it's like, well, great. Let's look at your business credit profile. Have we demonstrated in the past that our business is responsible in borrowing and paying back money? And a lot of times businesses don't have a strong credit profile, or all they've added, we sometimes see, although many times have added are some net 30 accounts from Uline or Granger, and that's better than no credit trade lines on their business credit profile. But what we talked about at the beginning of this webinar is still true. If all we've shown is little extensions of credit, it's a big leap for a lender to want to go from us having little extensions of credit to now a big one. So having a $100,000 primary trade line on our personal and/or business credit profile is significant. As we mentioned before, we have the alliance with the nonprofit micro lender, and that's where the $100,000 trade lines are coming from. They're real. They're not pretend. They're not just paper. They're real trade lines, usable. And again, they're not AU trade lines. As our tagline says throughout, and you'll see that often, don't pay for trade lines. So again, this is similar to what was on the website. We don't sell trade lines. Instead, we've created an innovative package whereby clients purchase and finance a portfolio of income-producing receivables called the Collateral Support Program. Now, on occasion, we'll have people say, well, no. I don't, this is too confusing. I don't want any of this. I just want a $100,000 primary trade line. Well, that's inconsistent with reality, isn't it? Because we talked about to get a primary trade line, which is what improves your credit profile, improves your score, increases your fundability, means that you have bought something on credit. That's how you get a primary trade line, is you've purchased something on credit. And so we can't skip the purchase something and go get a real $100,000 primary trade line. That's not real. And if someone's offering that, you really want to question the legality. So further description, our innovative trade line program was designed by former SBA and SBDC advisors and score mentors to provide 3 benefits. So this really, in this paragraph, tells the story more fully than we've looked at, because it addresses all 3 C's. if you've been with us for any time, one of the things that we do is with financial literacy, we emphasize the importance, if we want to borrow money for whatever purpose, our 3 C's, our credit, our collateral, and our cash flow. That's what lenders typically look at, the 3 C's. Well, this approach with this trade line literally accomplishes credibility in all 3 C's. It's kind of like the secret sauce. Well, how does that work? Well, we quickly and legally improve credit scores and profiles by adding new positive credit. So that new trade line reporting helps with the credit. That's one of the 3 C's. Secondly, then we can add these assets, because remember, we talked about the collateral support program. These are real assets. These are receivables, and receivables is a type of an asset. And so an asset improves our net worth as an individual and or improves the value of our business on our balance sheet. So it could be used either way. So that's the second of the 3 C's. And then the third C is cash flow. Because what are we going to do? We're going to help the client liquidate the receivables, turn those receivables into cash that goes into the client's bank account. So this is huge. So any of you that are distribution partners of ours, this paragraph here, if this doesn't make sense to you, we certainly need to visit more, because this is an incredibly valuable proposition. So instead of buying a trade line, we've created an innovative package whereby clients purchase and finance a portfolio of income producing receivables. As I mentioned before, the collateral support program trade line comes free. Just like you don't go buy a mortgage to be on your credit, you shouldn't. You would go purchase a home, finance the home, and then the mortgage reports on your credit. We've seen people go to jail for doing things illegal. So there's one gentleman, what he would do is he would add a mortgage to people's credit report, even though it wasn't real. And that's called bank fraud. So everything that you and I do needs to be legal, ethical, documented, and in writing. So again, the collateral support program is a portfolio of $100,000 of receivables that are immediately transferred. Because time, if you're one of our distribution partners, one of the main questions you'll get from people is, well, how long does this take? Well, we say immediately. Typically, it's within 24 hours. Those assets are transferred over. So that is one of the 3 parts of the value proposition, the transfer of assets. Credit reporting, as you probably know, happens normally on a once-a-month basis, and then we can start liquidating it and getting cash flow in, often in that first 30-day period. So within 30 days, most clients are going to see the benefit of credit, assets, and cash flow. All right, let's get over to the right-hand side, and then we'll wrap it up today. So just some highlights of the $100,000 trade line program. So again, we say guaranteed approval. There should be an asterisk behind it because there is an application. As long as the application is completed fully, then there's an approval. The approval comes from the nonprofit micro lender. And so it's going to be an approval for a $100,000 primary trade line, of which that can be used in part to purchase the collateral support program. So this is no different than net 30s, right? If you wanted to go get a net 30 account, kind of starter credit for a business, you could contact Uline. But if you don't actually conduct business, if there's not a transaction, then they're not going to report anything. So hopefully this makes sense. Again, there's no minimum credit scores or no minimum time in business, so that's not a problem. It's available on the consumer and or business side, as we've talked about. I've had people ask, well, how does it report? Well, again, it reports as a primary revolving trade line. So there's revolving and installment. In most cases, you would prefer to have revolving than installment, because with revolving, it's going to allow us to improve the revolving utilization in case they're currently overextended, as we talked about before. Obviously, this is nonprofit, 0% interest, immediate improvement on your personal financial statement or balance sheet. So again, this is talking about the asset transfer. Where do these new assets? If you've never completed a PFS, a personal financial statement, it's typically used by lenders to look at your net worth, which is calculated by your assets and liabilities. Assets are the things that you own, liabilities is what you owe. And it's pretty similar on the balance sheet side for businesses. And so we're literally putting $100,000 of assets in the form of receivables on either your PFS, your personal financial statement for your net worth, or your balance sheet. You couldn't count it accurately on both. It needs to be one or the other. All right, turnkey program. So again, we mentioned the goal is not just to have the trade line, which is maybe the carrot that gets people's attention, but it's to then transfer the assets and then liquidate those receivables into cash. And that, of course, covers the third C we talked about here. So the end result is, if you're working on improving your consumer credit, excellent. This is going to help with your personal credit score by having a new trade line and lower revolving utilization. Alternatively, if you're focused on building your business credit, now we have a new $100,000 trade line, which is far superior to going out and getting secured cards and or even net 30 accounts that are often going to be much smaller. As we talked about earlier, size matters when it comes to trade lines in terms of how well it positions us to be ready for the next type of financing that we're pursuing. We have a great referral program. As I mentioned earlier, on the careers page, you can become a small business consultant. And actually, as a small business consultant, if you're educating and helping people get primary trade lines, you literally pick what you want to be paid. Most of you are picking $500 to $1,000 per trade line, but it's literally within your control. We've had separate trainings on that. The bottom here in the orange box would be edited with your information if you're a distribution partner. All right, let me make this a bit smaller. Who has questions, comments, concerns on the $100,000 primary trade line? This is an excellent tool in helping people become more credible on paper, legally and ethically. Can either help them as individuals and or as businesses, and addresses all three C's, which is the core to getting qualified for business funding. Questions, comments, concerns. So certainly you can reach out to us. Our email is support@guaranteedfunding.org. So there's our website. Obviously the email address is not listed there, but it's support, SUPPORT, @guaranteedfunding.org. If you are interested in being a distribution partner, you can go to guaranteedfunding.org and click on the career partner page, careers page. If you're interested in a trade line for yourself, again, you would go to our website, and on the trade lines page, which we looked at just a moment ago, it actually has the form at the bottom. You fill that out, and then we're going to send the person that submitted the inquiry an Adobe packet. And so that's going to provide, frankly, it'll provide this flyer and more information, more detailed information on the collateral support program, and then they can complete that. All right, so we got a question here. Is Timothy's asking, is there any upfront cost? And that's a fair question. So again, we don't sell the trade line, so no, there's no upfront cost for the trade line and no cost later. The trade line happens. What's the trigger that makes the trade line possible is someone is enrolling in the collateral support program, providing those three benefits. And so with the collateral support program, there is a down payment that is submitted at the time of enrollment. And that triggers a reporting event, so we can get reporting on credit as soon as possible. And then the balance that's owed for the purchase of the collateral support program is financed at 0%, which we talked about earlier, spread over 12 months. So then every month we get another reporting event, another positive reporting event, another positive reporting event. And that's how this is powerful. It's not just a one-time hit or improvement, I should say, on the credit profile, whether it be personal or business. It's repetitive, new positive credit entries every month. And that's what the bureaus require of the nonprofit that we're working with is that they have to report every month. And that's great for you because every month you're getting another positive activity or entry on your credit report regarding the trade line. All right, Lon has a question. Could we use a $2,500 trade line process? So Lon's correct, and I didn't want to convolute it too much. We have other trade lines that are available. This is the flagship, certainly because of all the benefits that we talked about. But we do have some smaller trade lines. In general, most people will go for the larger because it's going to have the greatest positive impact on the credit score. But regardless, we could visit with each of you separately and decide which of the trade lines would be the best fit for you and or a given client's situation. But this will probably be 99% of what you do if you're one of our distribution partners, because we need a big trade line to increase the client's fundability. And if they're trying to lower their revolving utilization, a big revolving trade line has a greater impact. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, well, thanks everyone. Appreciate you coming in early after the July 4th holiday. We'll continue to meet mornings, most mornings, 8 o'clock Central. Now we make this available for our distribution partners as well as our clients, so we can make sure that we're providing the training and support that everyone needs to be successful. Thanks everyone for your time. We'll see you back tomorrow morning, hopefully. Have a great day. Bye-bye.